Hello dear viewers. Today's story will keep you hooked. A man who did everything to take care of and protect the woman he loves, even after they broke up. Can kindness and sincerity bring them back together? Stay tuned to discover the complex emotions of love, sacrifice, and forgiveness in this touching story. Will James, the man who has always been there for Diep in her toughest moments, change her decision? After witnessing the love and dedication James showed to her family, Diep's mother encourages her to return to him. But is Diep ready for another chance? Can true love overcome all barriers? Can the past be forgiven and a new chapter begin in their lives? Watch to find out the outcome. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell so you never miss another exciting video. Join us as we explore more touching stories. Although Diep and James had recently broken up, Diep still felt an emptiness in her heart, as if a crucial part of her was missing. She couldn't forget the sweet moments they had shared, but now, everything was over. Their relationship couldn't continue, and Diep kept telling herself that the decision was the right one. However, when her mother suddenly fell seriously ill, everything changed. That morning, her mother suddenly felt severe stomach pain and was unable to stand. Diep immediately rushed her to the hospital. After some tests, the doctor informed them that her mother needed emergency surgery because her condition was critical. Diep was shocked, feeling as if everything was collapsing before her eyes. Her mother was the only family she had left, and now, she was in critical condition. Diep rushed into the emergency room, her mind full of anxiety and confusion. When her mother was transferred to the operating room, Diep sat in the hallway, feeling like everything was spinning around her. She didn't know what to do, only sitting there with red eyes, tears waiting to fall. At that moment, she noticed a familiar figure standing in front of her. It was James. Even though they had just broken up, he didn't hesitate to appear by her side when he heard that her mother needed urgent surgery. James didn't say anything, but when he saw her, he couldn't just stand by. He still cared for her and her family, even though their relationship was no longer the same. He sat down beside her and gently placed his hand on her shoulder. His gesture, though wordless, brought her a warm comfort that Diep couldn't deny. Though her heart was still confused, she knew that James was the only person who could be there to help. He didn't ask questions, didn't bring up their breakup, he simply stayed, doing everything he could to ease her worries. He contacted the doctor, followed up on her mother's condition, and did everything he could to make Diep feel more at ease. James took care of her as a friend, without hesitation. He knew he no longer had any right to be part of her life, but in this moment, he just wanted to be the one to help her through this great challenge. When the doctor came back and informed them that the surgery had been successful, but her mother still needed to be monitored, Diep sighed in relief, though tears continued to fall. She felt overwhelmed with emotion. Her mother had made it through the dangerous part, but still needed care in the coming days. Diep turned to James, feeling a mix of emotions. Despite everything, James was the one who had stayed by her side in these critical moments. Even though they had broken up, his presence felt like a kind of salvation. James said nothing, simply gently patted her shoulder and stayed by her side as they faced the next few tense hours together. He didn't leave the hospital, even though he wasn't family, because he couldn't abandon her in this time of need. His actions made Diep deeply moved. He was no longer her partner, but his genuine concern and care for her and her family at this moment were undeniable. For the following days, as her mother's condition gradually improved, James continued to stay by her side. He never left, helping her take care of her mother, searching for the best doctors, preparing medicines, and arranging light meals for her mother. Although they had broken up, his thoughtful gestures made Diep realize that James's love and care for her hadn't faded. He was still the person she could trust, and despite the changes in their relationship, he was always ready to do everything for her family. Diep felt strangely unsettled as she realized that she still needed James, even though everything had changed. Their relationship couldn't continue, but the care he showed for her and her family made her heart stir. In that moment, Diep didn't know what the future would bring, but she understood that love and genuine concern still existed, no matter how their relationship had shifted. After the surgery, although Diep's mother had passed the critical stage, she was still weak and needed time to recover. Diep felt much lighter, but she couldn't shake off her worry. In the following days, her mother had to stay in the hospital for observation. Every time Diep visited her mother, she could feel the weakness in her every step, and her tired eyes couldn't hide the lingering pain. Meanwhile, James continued to stay by Diep's side. He didn't leave, showing no sign of wanting to go back even though they had broken up. His actions surprised Diep, and part of her heart felt deeply moved. Over the past days, he had not only been concerned about her mother's health but had also been looking after her with great care, helping her through stressful and exhausting moments. James was still the first one to arrive at the hospital every morning, always there when her mother needed medication or when anyone needed help. He never complained, never said a word of hesitation, even though he had to stay up late to care for her mother or help Diep prepare meals. Every time he saw Diep exhausted, he would gently tell her to rest, and he would take care of the rest. While her mother rested, James took care of every small detail, from arranging her mother's bed to finding the best doctors to monitor her condition. He even went outside the hospital to buy supplements and search for nutritious foods for her mother. Although Diep still felt awkward thinking about their relationship, there was no denying that James's actions had warmed her heart. In a brief moment, when he silently sat by her mother's bed, Diep looked at him with gratitude. "You don't have to do this," she said softly. "We've broken up already. You don't need to worry about my mother anymore." But James simply smiled, his gaze firm. "We may have broken up, but that doesn't mean I can't care about you and your mother. I will always be here for you." Those words, though brief, felt like an unspoken promise. They made Diep feel choked up, because she realized that James was still an important part of her life, even though their romantic relationship had ended. He was still there, looking after and caring for her and her family, not out of obligation, but because of the sincere affection he had for them. In the following days, whenever her mother woke up from a nap, she felt at ease seeing James by her side. She didn't say anything, just looked at him and smiled faintly. Every thoughtful gesture he made toward her mother not only moved her mother but also made Diep realize that sometimes love wasn't just about romantic relationships, it was about the genuine acts of kindness and care without expecting anything in return. Diep couldn't help but think about the changes within herself. Even though she had decided to break up with James, in this difficult moment, she realized that he was the one person she could rely on. Every time he showed concern for her, every time he took care of her mother, Diep asked herself if she had made the right decision by ending their relationship. She remembered the beautiful moments they shared, the words he said, and the times he made her feel special. However, her reasoning still kept her at a distance, as she knew that returning to the past wasn't possible. That evening, when her mother had fallen asleep, she and James sat in the hospital room, in silence. Diep felt a strange sense of peace being beside him. There were no more tensions, no more questions about the future or their romantic relationship. There was only the sense of comfort, knowing that James was still there, helping her. Diep looked at him and gently asked, "Why are you doing all of this? Even though we broke up?" James looked up, his gaze deep. "Because I care about you, and I care about your mother. I don't need a specific reason to help when you need it. Sometimes, doing the right thing is enough." Diep didn't know how to respond. She only smiled, feeling warmth from his words, realizing that even though they were no longer a couple, friendship and care could still exist. No matter how life changed, James was still someone she could trust, and that gave her a sense of peace. As her mother gradually recovered and was able to leave the hospital, Diep felt a change in herself. While she didn't know what the future would hold, she realized that James's love and care for her were still important. Even though their romantic relationship had ended, this sincere bond was something she would always cherish. A week after Diep's mother was discharged from the hospital, her health had gradually stabilized, but she was still weak and needed more rest. Diep felt relieved, but she couldn't completely shake off her worries. In the following days, her mother had to stay at home to recover, and Diep resumed her work and daily life. However, in her quiet moments with her mother, she couldn't help but feel conflicted. Every time she thought of James, memories of their relationship flooded back. Though she had decided to break up, she couldn't completely let go. And during the nights when she sat with her mother, Diep felt a stirring in her heart as she reflected on everything James had done for her family. One day, as Diep sat next to her mother in the living room, her mother looked at her intently, as if deep in thought. Normally, her mother was strict and rarely expressed her emotions, but today, she seemed to want to share something important with her daughter. "Diep," her mother said softly, but with deep sincerity, I know you're very tired, and I understand that you've decided to break up with James. But do you know, during the time I was in the hospital, James did so much for you and for me? He's not just your ex, he's a good man, someone who can protect and care for you for the rest of your life. Diep looked at her mother in surprise, not expecting her to speak of James in such a way. Mom, what are you saying? What did he do for you? He's not the person I need, and we've broken up. Her mother didn't immediately respond but sat in silence for a moment before letting out a sigh. My daughter, I know you have your reasons for leaving James, but I have seen his goodness. Throughout the time I was in the hospital, James never left the hospital, never abandoned you. He cared for me, made sure I was okay, did everything he could to help. He didn't do it out of obligation or responsibility, but because of love and sincere concern. He never complained, never gave up, and was always by your side when you needed him. Diep sat still, unsure of how to respond. She hadn't realized just how much James had done for her and her family. Her mother's words made her heart begin to stir with emotions that she had been trying to suppress for so long. I saw how much care he gave me, not because he wanted to please you, but because he truly loves you and wants to protect you. You don't have to worry about what's in the past, Diep. I just want you to understand that James is someone who can protect you. He can guard you for the rest of your life. I know you don't want to go back, but please think carefully about this. If you love him, and he can make you happy, why would you refuse? Diep felt a lump in her throat as she listened to her mother. She looked at her, then down at her hands, feeling conflicted. Even though she had always believed breaking up with James was the right decision, her mother's words made her reconsider. She hadn't realized all that James had done for her and her family during these tough times. He wasn't just an ex, he was someone she could trust. Mom, I know he did a lot for you, but I don't know if I can go back to him. I'm afraid we'll face the same issues as before. Her mother looked at her with a gentle expression, as though she wanted to give her peace of mind. I understand your worries, but you must remember, love is not just about sweet moments. It's about patience, endurance, and support during difficult times. James has shown all of that. He loves you, and you need him. Don't be afraid anymore, Diep. If he can protect you, if he can guard you, then he is the one you need by your side. Her mother's words were not just advice, but a heartfelt plea. Diep sat in silence for a moment, then gently took her mother's hand, feeling the warmth of it. She knew her mother only wanted the best for her, and sometimes, those words of wisdom were exactly what she needed to hear. I'll think about it, Mom. I know I can't just forget everything, but I also can't deny that James is important to me, Diep said, her voice a little choked. Her mother smiled, her eyes warm. I just want you to find happiness, whether with James or someone else. But you must know, he is the one who deserves you. Diep sat still, looking out the window, letting her mother's words settle in her heart. She realized that sometimes, happiness wasn't something far away, but it was with those who were willing to stand by and protect her. James could be that person, and maybe, just maybe, she was ready to give him another chance. This story deeply moved me with its sincerity and sacrifice in love. Although Diep and James broke up, throughout the time her mother was seriously ill, James continuously cared for and protected her family. He was not just an ex, but also a friend and companion, standing by her and her family during the toughest moments. This shows that true love is not only about sweet moments but also about patience, acceptance, and mutual care. Diep's mother, although initially not supportive of their relationship, gradually recognized James's sincerity. His actions touched her heart, and she began to believe that he was the one who could protect and care for Diep for the rest of her life. The story is not just about love, but also about forgiveness, maturity, and mutual understanding. I think that sometimes in love, going back together is not always easy, but if the feelings are still there and both people have grown, then love can open up a new opportunity. This story serves as a reminder that true love is when we can accept, sacrifice, and walk through all difficulties together.